Welcome to Meeting Community Needs and Wants, Lessons Learned from Hosting Programs While Lending and Repairing Things. And today we have Hazel Onsrud, who is a public librarian, and John Roy, who is a technology librarian, both from the Curtis Memorial Library in Maine, which was the first certified sustainable library outside of New York State. And that was done through the Sustainable Library Initiative. Okay. You guys can take it away. And like I said, I'll pay attention to the chat and find questions and stuff to feed you after.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having us. And everyone who's here, thanks so much for doing what you do and showing up. We're really excited to be a part of this community, and it's been amazing to continue to grow. So I think the first thing we'd like to say is don't hesitate to reach out after this. We've been in shoes that are different than yours, but still, we're still trying to figure stuff out. So if we can help each other, that's why we're here. John and I, as Susie explained, are both actually public librarians, but we both wear different hats. So John is our technology lead, and I founded a tool library in Maine before becoming a public librarian. So we're talking to you right now based on running hundreds of programs, and we see about, between 800 and 1,000 people a day at our library.
So from our help desk, while there are up to 1,000 people that come into the library, many of them can be different types of people. We can go from college students to the public, or even young adults coming into the library with a variety of different questions. And the hardest part is never knowing the answer to all these questions. No one ever can. So we always do our best to find what resources we have available for the public and connecting it with our patrons as much as we can.
Yeah, so I think that's what we were asked to talk a bit about today is kind of how do you, you know, both check your privilege, recognize we're all these crazy, different, unique humans, but also then get past whatever it is that we're all holding to connect. And John and I are by no means experts, but we're going to try to share with you some of the things that we've learned over the years, as well as that our team has brought. And so the key thing here is there's a lot that really does bring us together. And even though we're all these special, unique humans. And as such, we are here to talk today about a variety of strategies that we have found work. Here you can see we're going to talk a little bit about some community needs assessment options. So if you don't know a lot about your community, there's just some basic data you can get pretty easily. And that will help you strategize what types of services you may, or how you may want to market the services you're providing. And we'll talk a little bit about how we've used these strategies. John, especially, has been leading our Repair Cafe effort at our library. So he'll chime in with all of that concepts. And then, of course, we can't talk about all of this effectively, really, in a half hour. So we're going to leave you with a few of our favorite resources. But please, I encourage you to share your favorite resources along the way because we always learn something too. Oh, John, I think I stole your slide. Sorry. It's all
You're
right.
fine.
Okay. Um, John and I are cubicle mates, so we're used to playing with each other quite a bit here. Um, so community needs assessment options. These are things, if you've never taken a look at what your community needs, this can be helpful if you're putting on any type of event. So there's stuff as basic as the census, or there's also things that go into depth more on health and wellness, or things that talk about what people need for stability. And knowing if your community is food insecure or if your community is really wealthy and extremely food insecure, those can all help you structure um, connecting with another human and helping bring those haves and have-nots together. And remember, haves can be like you might have a lot of money, but you might have no friends, right? Or you might have an amazing social network, but really lack basic access to transportation. And so this is all stuff that the repair community, can kind of we bring a lot of people in who are interested in a lot of different things and have a lot of different needs. Um, the final thing I think is just be aware that you can talk to people and ask people, and people will give you feedback. So that can be really positive and helpful too. If you reach out to the basic government agencies, nonprofits, or talk to people at the bus stop. So at this point, we just love it if you could share with us what is your favorite community needs assessment tool or strategy. You can see that we reference like Goodwill Northern New England, but there's a lot of other ones. For example, that one had a great matrix of things to look at, but there's a lot of other tools out there. So again, you can just pop that in the chat.
So a lot of these needs kind of vary depending on what kind of services you are able to offer, from not just physiological needs, but also emotional and mental well-being as well. So these kind of programs that you are able to offer can vary, and it's going to depend on kind of your communication with your patrons about what you should be prioritizing and when. A lot of our repair cafes meet not only a kind of physical need to repair something, but also a communication and social need as well, combining patrons and neighbors. Some of the best stories we get are people that haven't met each other or haven't seen each other for the past 20 years, but know each other from previous marriages, from schools, from any other walks of life. You're creating a social opportunity for them to chat and meet with neighbors and your community, and you're building that for your patrons.
So we're going to launch right into some service example strategies. Again, we're not saying that this is going to be perfect for you, but hopefully something in here will resonate and be like, oh yeah, I haven't emphasized this thing recently. And so we found sometimes varying the message, we get different people. I tease a lot that I can get permaculturists and preppers who, may vote differently, may have different stances on guns, but they all come to like half of our programs on scrap crafts, on pizza ovens, on all sorts of things. And that builds community and we grow from there, right? So this is some of our examples. And again, reach out if you want to hear about examples that aren't as repair focused, but obviously that's what we're concentrating on today. So before we get started, let's just please share with your thoughts here. What's your favorite strategy to positively bring different community members together? So number one is saving money. Saving money is one that I'm sure a lot of folks have used to advertise your repair cafes, but we actually lend tools. We say things like free food, free programming. We use the word free all the time, but actually the rule of a public library is it all has to be free and open to the public. So like that should be a default, but it doesn't mean we don't advertise it, right? So that's been one.
The number of repairers that we have that are utilizing our iFixit computer repair kits or technology repair kits or gardening tools that we have here just to kind of create more services for the community. The library is able to purchase it so that you don't have to.
Yeah. And I should have mentioned up front, John and I, we've made these slides publicly available and we'll post them on Curtis Memorial Library too, in case you don't have to worry about writing a bunch of this down. We'll share it all. And some of this, if you need inspiration on, well, wait a minute, what should I share? This is all of the kind of just things we share associated with the Sustainable Development Goals. And so we're in this case talking about physical things, but we also run programs with all of our physical things. And of course, the Repair Cafe uses all of these items to, we lend repair kits as well. So another thing that we found really resonates with people is providing space. And that you don't have to own your space to provide it, right? Even just providing a place with a public bathroom that's warm or that's cool for a few hours where folks can get together, that is immensely valuable in our society today. Think about it. Who else does that? Maybe you have a local Grange, but not everyone does.
So it just ties back into the Repair Cafe with our ability to connect with people. And oftentimes in the public, you don't get the opportunity to do that without paying for something. So by able to provide that community space, you're just allowing them to meet and greet and build connections that way.
Yeah. It's amazing how much that matters. Sometimes it's not literal space, it's figurative space. Okay. Sometimes you just need someone to listen. And I'm not saying you have to be that person. You don't have to listen to someone yammer on about everything. We have strategies for that. In fact, we have a favorite phrase that says sometimes we can't help someone in the way they want to be helped. Okay. But we try to help them. In fact, that's what we started with. You heard John talk about the help desk. It's literally in every library. It's our job to try to help. Um, so lending an ear sometimes can be a huge public service. So sometimes even if someone didn't come to get something, repaired, just to be with other people, that's a really great service as well.
And sometimes listening to your patrons will also inform you about other needs in your community that you may not have been aware of, or for Repair Cafe specific items that you need to be finding experts to repair on, finding for whatever needs to be done next.
Yeah, these are all ways of feeling heard, right? So in our society too, right? You can't effectively engage or learn or open your mind if you're fighting or flight if you're fighting, flighting, or freezing, right? So any way in which we can connect with people this way helps us to then create a space where we can then work together to solve a community problem. So that's what all these strategies are for. So another one, of course, is optimizing time. I may not know how to repair something, or I know if I just get this thing fixed. We lend a lot of stuff that lets you make a garden faster or lets you better increase your food security. And we really know we're optimizing people's time, and that's something we all only have a limited amount of.
Your users can spend hours researching how to repair something. It's trying and most likely failing a few times. But if you have a repair expert available at the time that has been down this path before, by sharing their knowledge, you save a boatload of time on both ends. And you also might get someone interested in repairing and offering their time in the future.
Another thing we think a lot about is increasing access. And again, this means so many different things. You'll notice we're not repeating exactly what we've written on the slides, but in this case, some of my favorite things, a lot of folks are into Dungeons and Dragons. Well, we found this Coyote and Crow role-playing game that was like indigenous created with that talked about a different future, which if they hadn't had a decolonization future, which it got the Dungeons and Dragons folks really excited about this new thing, just like Coopoly just got the Monopoly people excited about we could have co-ops instead of capitalism. And again, you don't have to be into either of those things, but the point is what increasing access could be. Yeah, it could be borrowing, a fix-it kit. It could be, providing access to that bathroom, or it could be, other things, training, etc.
Or even access to repair events or programs designed to instruct and utilize not only the saving money aspect of providing access to tools that you may not be able to afford or have the storage space for. Libraries have kind of stepped into that kind of service. Same thing with tool libraries and loaning zones.
And to be fair, like prove us wrong on any of this. John and I love that. Like, so for example, you might be like, but I think people actually bond over less increasing access, but they bond over it being like, you know, a exclusive club. And that works too. I can't tell you how often, at least when I hosted the one repair cafe for John when he, hopefully took vacation, I remember being like, this is where all the cool kids are today, because it made everyone feel cool and exclusive. So, yes, we were increasing access, but no, everyone felt cool because they were there. At least that's what I tell myself. Another cool thing we do is try to improve safety, right? Not all these spaces that we have in our society are welcome. And so it's really important. And again, going back to that, even if you think it's okay, well, it's totally a welcoming space. It's warm, it's whatever. Someone smiled at you. Well, but remember, we all have our different stressors and we all have different stories and things that happened in our day. And we all have different privileges and skills and opportunities to share or to check. And so recognizing that if you're providing a space where people can relax for even a few moments, that can be a game changer in our society today when we're in many ways incredibly polarized.
Get it? And even any kind of repair you take on can be intimidating for your users. So that's where the repair cafes can also come in by giving them the confidence to try to fix something, to take something apart, to play around with multimeters and stuff like that, in a safe environment. By having experts there, you can teach them to utilize these tools in a safe and comfortable environment.
So this is one of my favorites, and you see it. I sometimes just go and jump in and look at the repair cafes, even though it's supposed to be my day off, because there is so much joy. So thank you, John, for making that happen. But that's really what we want to do, right? No one wants to hang out with a grumpy pants, although sometimes it's fun to grump together, right? Like, don't get me wrong, wry humor is great too. But whatever it is, if you can increase joy, whether it's with musical instruments, crafts, sports, shared projects, if you get folks in the same room and then you do this together, you can create experiences and build relationships and then move on to solving problems in a way that you can't if you don't get them together.
The repair cafes are honestly probably my favorite program to run every month, because of the joy you see with your repairers or the patrons that wander in the door just wondering what this is all about. And you get to spend 2 minutes educating them about what repair cafes can offer. Everyone leaves happy, and for a Saturday morning, even if it's just the free donuts or coffee, it brings a smile to their face.
Never underestimate a smile. And don't get me wrong, smiles don't work for everyone, but look at this.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite photos, because it's showcasing kind of everything we want from our programs. You have multi-generational programs. You have a child learning from an older expert. Every single person is relatively happy, um, and they're sharing their interests and skills and growing the community involvement.
So again, we're not saying this is going to work for everyone. We all, when we're staffing the help desk and trying to do this or running these programs, we're not saying that one approach is going to work for all of the people who you come in contact with. That's a blatant lie. But what we try to do as a team is to think about different ways in which we can help, we can meet people where they're at, take a breath, and then move forward together, right? And because if we can't meet them where they're at, we can't move forward together. So sometimes that's simple as politeness and respect and some smiles. Other times it's, bonding over that crummy weather or, self-deprecating humor. And sometimes, again, I just want to go back to you can't always help people in the way they want to be helped, but oftentimes you can still build this community of helpers. Overall, you can be in that community.
Or you can
Excellent. I
build
just want
it.
to, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I'm just saying you can also start that community of helpers, at any time.
I just wanted to pop in with some of the answers because a few people, it's a little confusing because I think we may be getting all the chat. So some of them are not for us.
Oh,
I'm unclear on that, but that's what it looks like. We'll see. But somebody recommended, they said Tacoma, there's a Tacoma Equity Index map. That's a tool that they like to use. We have a lot of Washington State people here today.
of
And
course.
and yes, and so somebody else responded to the concept of providing space, about putting together a maker's space and studio space. That's a burgeoning thing to do. And I think that's all I was able to. Like I said, I'm unclear if the others are all for us, because they're talking about sort of what skills and stuff at cafes, so it's a little confusing. But that was wonderful. I really appreciate that. I do all the different steps of Repair Cafe personally, so I oversee a network of 70. I'm also organized my local, and I'm a fixer. So yes to everything he said, and it is a challenge, and it's not a challenge to put on a welcoming space, but sometimes it's a challenge to meet everyone with all their baggage that they come in with, and we always stay positive, but we have definitely seen some people we can't help the way they want to be helped, and we've definitely seen. I have to say, in all the cafes I've been to, which in 2 years is almost a one a weekend, we had two very very grumpy people. So mostly people are pretty they respond. So. Does anyone else have any questions? If you want, you can pop off of mute and ask it, or you can drop it in the chat, but the chat's a little confusing. But 1,000 customers a day is a lot. That is a lot. Where is the library in Maine? Is it
So
in the
we're
city?
over in Brunswick. So we're one of the three or four biggest libraries in the state.
Got it.
So we can guarantee the bigger ones, Augusta or Portland, see twice as many as people as that. Also depending on the time of year.
Right.
So that can
Right.
resolve any number of patrons, from our kids and little ones to our senior citizens coming in for programs.
Yeah,
And it's
I imagine the cold weather too, that it's a nice place to be when you can be warm. Yeah.
This is something, again, we'll make sure that these are resources that are available. But some of the things that we go back to often are, Ryan Dad has some wonderful things of how to interact with folks. And it's just great reminders. And there's a lot of other great resources too on how to help us kind of, I think that the phrase you can see here is how to help us be kinder than necessary and get some stuff done. Which sometimes are two hard things. Not that we're succeeding, but we're trying hard. So that's what we always promise at the help desk, right? We promise
Yes.
the attempt to help, not necessarily success. So feel free to use that.
It also ties well into the repair cafe. Some
Yeah.
things come in, we can't always guarantee they'll leave working, but there will always be an educational opportunity.
Yes, Ken from Repair Cafe Toronto says that all this enforces how he feels about the social aspect. And I think, there's a lot of talk about loneliness and third spaces. And so I think this is, I'm always amazed with every cafe we have that you're reaching a new person who has never heard of it before. It just continues to really spread exponentially. So I think we're all here in the right place. And I think this is going to just keep spreading, I hope. So excellent.
Yeah, and please reach out if you want to collaborate or talk more about repair cafes, library of things, any of that. You know, we're happy to chat.
Okay, excellent, excellent. I've been told we have a few more minutes. Everyone else is running a little late. So, do you guys also have a tool library? Is that specifically separate from the repair cafe?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we have about 1,000, a little under 1,500 tools, but
Mhm.
that's in our public library, actually. So if you're interested in that or you have a library who you want to collaborate with, we'll keep staying in this amazing conference, but also because there's a lot of resources coming up, but also there's a tool library listserv for just public librarians, and then there's or academic librarians, and then there's also I'm going to put our link if you want to learn how to kind of lend tools. We can link that as well.
Excellent. And I know there's another presentation coming up about the lending
Yeah.
library tools, library things. Okay, excellent. That's a little bit, it's like, that's my you know what I mean? So I don't know much about that. All right. Well, if that's it, I guess we'll wrap up. We'll give everyone a break because it's been a little bit nonstop. And I guess we'll go back to the main session, and then there's another three breakouts so people can choose from what they want to do. So thank you so much for coming and talking. It was really, really nice. And that is sort of the feeling that we all, excellent, sort of have about why we do it and how people feel coming. So I think that for anyone who's new, this really is, people kind of can't believe that we do this for free, and it's so welcoming and lovely. So, okay. All
Thank you
right.
for the opportunity.
Yes,
Thank
of
you so
course.
much. And thank you all for everything you're doing in your communities. I can say every day I learn something new when I hang out with y'all. So I just can't wait for this to keep happening.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question, Hazel?
Yes, absolutely. I was actually just looking, being like, there's a bunch of
Um,
great stuff
yeah.
in the chat that I was like, I can answer this. Hold on.
There
Please,
definitely is.
please ask.
Um, do you let people know ahead of time, like if you're having a monthly repair cafe, which people are going to be there who know how to fix which things? Because I think a lot of times people would come with things that there's no one there who knows how to fix, but maybe they'd be there next time, kind of thing.
Yes, we do. As I'm kind of the volunteer coordinator as well for this events, so I try to get a head count of which repairers will be there ahead of time, and that goes out into all of our publicity. We'll be here to service at least this general area of skills. There's no guarantee those volunteers will be available that